And now I think we're better. Okay, okay. Wow, why was it set to that? All right, well, set. Introduction. What we're going to do here. This is Twisty Tuners. We're going to make some cartoons. They're going to be political in nature. They're just going to poke fun at some of the hypocrisy in which that we live, and so on, so forth, everything like that. We are going to be using Blender here to uh, craft these things. Currently, my idea is to have a cast of robots. I do have a few skits in mind that I would like to put together. I have not very many answers just yet, especially ones that go as far to say how long they'll be. Uh, that's a good question. I don't know that one at all. Not yet. It all just depends. I just have a series that I would like to put together, and hopefully, throughout the course of that, there will be a spawn of ideas, and also maybe people that want to learn this as well, and it can become a collaborative effort of a sense, community, if you will. But yeah, that's my introduction. This is just a test stream. So if by any reason anybody is watching this, I just am really kind of checking some things out, at least for the beginning, and then I'd at least like to dive a little bit into something that I've created on here. I promise you that it is more than just this fucking block. It's just what it is when you open it. But I just want to see what everything looks like, and I want to. Yeah, I don't. It's just the first time doing it. First stream. So. This might get a little bit of annoying because I am going to unmute streams just to see what it sounds like. Okay, so it might be a little bit quiet. I am currently a little bit far away from the mic. I'm just gonna check, see background noise, that type of shit. Okay. Well, unfortunately, it does seem like there is at least some little like staticky sort of a background sort of a thing. I don't particularly care for that. Um. Yeah, I don't think that this will take too long. This one seems a okay. I could bring you with me. I'm just checking out Kick here. We are Twisty Tuners everywhere that you look, everywhere that you go. That's what we will be. No, we do not have everything set up, lined up yet. But why is, yo, chill. So now we shall go. Why? Well, let's see. Let's frickin' see. Well, there it is. Why didn't it? Ah, it's just not the link. Okay. So let's see. What does it sound like on here? Let's see. Let's frickin' see. Well, there it is. Why didn't it? Ah, it's just not the link. Okay. So let's see. What does it sound like on here? God, let that shit go. What the fuck? Okay. So That seems to be decent as well. Also, potentially a little bit quiet, but yes, I am still a ways away from the mic. Going here. Just 1 second. Yeah. Put me in, coach. Going here. Just 1 second. Yeah. Put me in, coach. Here. Okay. Shit seems to be working. Or at the beginning. Now. I have another little sip of my Mountain Dew here. And talk a little bit further. And just see. Now this blender thing is actually pretty legit as far as what it seems. I mean, it's complicated. It is going to be quite an undertaking to take on. I mean, but I do feel a newfound sort of motivation within me. So it's time to act and to do something on something that I'm passionate about. So off and up and over, and here we go. But what we can do is we can essentially make shapes. Really, truly, truly any kind of shape that we want in this program right here. I can show you what I have made up and to this point. But first, yeah, let me load. I'll show you what I've made up to this point. It is not anything all that impressive, but where we're going to go is into Robits. So, we're going to open this up. No, I don't want to save this stupid ass cube. Mesh human. All right, so here's a borderline, baseline, absolute character model. We need more face detail. Your head cannot, absolutely not look like a golf ball. That is not something that can stick around, but I mean, honestly, if from what I understand about this program, and I will plan to use, I'm not going to use AI to do anything with the program itself, or writing any code or any of that sort of a thing, but I'm pretty sure that I would be able to kind of use it as a sidekick, ask it questions. How do I take a mesh sphere and smooth it out in Blender? I bet it's going to be able to tell me. I've tried a couple of different things like that, and it seems to be pretty good. And if not, there's YouTube videos. We can get to that point. At any rate, I also have a decent couple of scripts here, and yeah, I would like to share that with you, but not everything in this notepad is shareable. I wish that it would have opened on the other screen, but that's all right. Let me find a script. Okay, so here's one. Again, these are just notes. This is not anything. Let me just make sure that there's not anything crazy written down here. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. You can read it if you want. So, what this skit basically is in reference to is honestly Ben Shapiro. I don't plan to use his name. I plan to say something like, I don't know, his name's going to be something like Shen Bashiro or something like that. But he's going to be a robot, a toaster. And at any rate, we'll bring this back because we're going to read what it says. Again, all subject to change, but he is some sort of religious person, like a Zappinist. That makes me think of Zionist, or that's where it comes from. But anyway, when that stuff went down, with the George Floyd stuff and everything, and that cop, his name is Chauvin. Ben Shapiro came out right away, and he was, you know, understandably like, no, that's not the way that you treat people. Regardless, he made statements like that, and anyway, recently he's changed his tune on that sort of a thing, saying that now that all the facts are out, where, I mean, let's be honest, there are more facts that came out, and none of the facts are supportive of his train of thought or idea. I mean, none of the police procedure signs off on any of that, and that's the biggest argument that they make, that, you know, that is taught behavior. But no, that is not taught procedure in that situation. No shot. So anyway, it's going to be something like along the line of Ben Shapiro. He's hanging out. He's at a party for his crazy aunt or something like that, and she's, you know, loopy. She's wandering around doing whatevers and whatnots, just weird this is and that's, and she ends up wandering off and down the street, and she like walks into a purse store or something and steals something. She walks off with it. Probably mostly, I mean, honestly, innocently, because kind of out of her mind. And then the police are going to notice this. One of the cops is going to come up. He's going to go over, going to grab, you know, little crazy auntie over there, and he's going to just absolutely body slam her. Just boom, smack her down. And then, after we go through that smackdown, she's going to get arrested, booked, if you will, given treatment, sent to the hospital, and hours later, unfortunately, die. And obviously, Shen Bashiro, our character here, is going to come out the next day and be completely outraged about everything that has happened. You know, I mean, he can't believe that any of this has happened. It's obviously abhorrent. It's terrible. And then, you know, this is where, like, the length of things, I mean, obviously you can't have something like this transfer on for so long, but you got to indicate that, you know, this is now a couple years later at this point, and then he's gonna start talking about how, you know, his aunt is actually a pretty guilty person throughout her lifetime, and, you know, a lot of these facts are starting to come out to the surface, and anyway, and so forth, and furthermore. But anyway, that's just one of those skits that are in the works, and or hopefully soon will be in the works, once we kind of gotta have a few things working in here. We gotta have characters, gotta smooth this out, kind of have a baseline. That's what I'm trying to go for. Have some sort of baseline of our robot character. We're going to be able to copy, paste, and then hopefully individualize from that point. It's really lame if my headset is going to die like that. So, as we progress, unfortunately, we're going to struggle through figuring out how to do this, because, you know, I ain't a professional. This isn't what I do for a living. I'm saying, you know, I'm gonna take some time. I'm gonna take a year. I'm gonna take a year or two, and I'm gonna figure out how to take something like this, make it look like an individualized robot that is representative of something, and it's very obviously representative of that thing, whether it be a person, whether it be a place. You know, it's just got to be representative, and then we have to be able to put that into motion. And then we have to, this environment is not good. So we also have to create an environment for all of this to happen within. I know that all of that sounds very complicated, and, you know, it really kind of is, but, you know, I feel like pretty much just about, if I were to say, stay motivated, keep up at it, keep rolling with it, and give it 6 months, I bet you that I could make a pretty good looking cartoon. And I bet you the second one will be way the hell easier. Way easier. Not even close. Not even comparison. So, this is a opportunity that I'm trying to give myself, and hopefully will absolutely follow through with, and have a great time doing it. Become something that you know breathes life. But while I'm putzing, while I'm messing around, I'm not going to be able to just simply focus on just this all by itself. That would kind of be murderous, and you gotta have breaks, and it's a lot of thinking, a lot of figuring out, and everything and whatnot. So I will also be watching something pretty much the whole time. We're going to have content playing on the side. Hopefully, I don't know much about rules, restrictions, and everything like that. But hopefully, none of it is any kind of ban worthy or reportable or anything like that. If it is, well, I guess fuck me, but that's all right. We're just going at this with what we got. You know, it's all we can do. That being said, um, I am very, very intrigued by people. I'm very intrigued by certain all sorts of different trains of thought, and one person that has come up recently that I find unbelievably intriguing is this Douglas Murray fella. I just don't understand how somebody can, you know, I guess have such sensible arguments in one area of life, and then just be completely whack in another. Like there's no fact based thought there at all. Just throw it to the wind, and here you are. Here you got it. So anyway, I don't know if this is good or not, but it's Sam Harris, and it's also going to be this Douglas Murray fella. They're gonna chat. That'll be what we find for now, and obviously, there's plenty more too.
I am here with Douglas Murray. Douglas, it's great to see you again.
Really good to see you, Sam.
So this has been interesting. I feel like I'm riding shotgun on at least one car crash of late. We're going to talk about your experience on the Joe Rogan Experience, and it was an experience. But we're going to talk about your book as a.
I'm not sure I like the opening about a car crash, but yeah.
I'll
Maybe Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, it'll be justified.
You get out of a crash and just get into another car.
Yeah. Well, I think that is our method. But you have a book on democracies and death cults, Israel and the Future of Civilization, which is, I guess, is part of a quartet of books: the Strange Death of Europe, the Death of the West, or
The War of the West, Madness of Crowds,
and Madness of Crowds.
Yeah,
I mean, all of which hit the same grotesque object of Western capitulation to unreason and a kind of masochistic flight from sanity in the face of the provocation of Islamism and jihadism and other attendant confusions. I think we will cover all that. I'm definitely going to track through the book with you, but I want to start with the intervention you attempted to perform on our mutual friend Joe. I hope he's still a mutual friend. That remains to be seen, I guess. But and his sidekick Dave Smith over on the podcast, because I thought what you attempted there was fantastic and much needed. I mean, this was a kind of moral intervention, which I thought was very important to do. I've been attempting my version of it, not directly in dialogue with Joe, but I certainly would do that as well. But it was, I thought what you said was quite brilliant and important, and I think there are probably a few crucial points that were misunderstood, and so I'd like to do a bit of a post-mortem on that. But
Sure.
I'm wondering what your experience of it was. How do you view, how much of the aftermath have you seen? I'm sure, no doubt, even if you don't read comments, you're still getting some of the comments somehow because
Yeah, I
it's a
don't read
tsunami.
comments. I don't really follow very closely. If I think I've done the right thing, which I try to do routinely, I don't think I ever knowingly mean to do the wrong thing. But if I do something which I feel perfectly content with myself in, that I can look myself in the mirror the next morning, I have no interest in seeing what people rampaging across the internet have to say.
What is that?
So,
dumbass
although
noise?
there is a certain type of almost friend.
All right, that is fucking terrible, man. Come on. Let's see here. Did that go here? No. We can't be having that pop off like that if that ever happens. That's bogus. None of that shit. No. That just ain't okay. Come on. Sorry, we'll start this again. It ain't. It ain't no thing right now. Okay, kind of cool. All right. Let's live it up. Hopefully, that shit doesn't happen again. I don't see, unfortunately, a way to turn it off. But what do you do? What do you do?
Who can never resist sending you the nastiest response they've seen online, is saying, I disagree with this person.
That's right. I don't think you're nearly that fat or ugly.
I disagree with everyone else. I like you. Despite some people doing that and thus giving me a glimpse into it, I really don't. I don't bother. I have a book out. I've been doing a lot of traveling and speaking and so on, so I don't really have time to absorb very much of the podcast talking about podcast meltdown that I gather has occurred.
I saw your collision on Newsnight after that.
Oh, that was just a typical BBC thing. They got me in to pre-record for 20 minutes. I attacked Newsnight. They edited it down to 7 minutes, and then afterwards, had a panel of 3 people to attack me.
Yeah, in your absence.
I'm sort of used to that. I find it sort of normal that if I'm allowed to speak on the BBC, they must have 500 anti-Douglasites to defame me and much more, and that's fine. I don't care.
That actually surprised me. I had thought the level of confusion they expressed there in the aftermath is now on Newsnight. I thought that the pendulum has swung back enough in the UK where that species of confusion wouldn't be so prominent.
Not on the national broadcast. So the national broadcast, as I think I told them in one of the bits, so they edited out, I said, you're just wildly out of date. Like, this is weird. This is having a conversation from 10 years ago, and you just haven't updated your software. And shame. Shame, but that's why nobody watches the program.
Okay, so we're going to focus. So I want to know what was your experience of attempting that intervention? How did how did it strike you in the moment?
Well, I like Joe and enormously admire what he's done. He's so good at talking about interesting things with guests easily and for a long time that a lot of other people think that it's extremely easy, and it just isn't. He's a master of it. But I had noticed that he had, in recent years, not really had anyone on who had my views about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, or indeed about the Israel-Hamas conflict. And he had some people on who I have had to become aware of very annoyingly. like all of us, but who are just retreads of a school of pseudo-history which was seen off a long time ago, and which I dislike. And I suppose I just wanted to try to say to Joe as gently as possible that I thought that something was going very badly wrong here, and that he was misleading his viewers about listeners about what the story is on each of these things, you know, and that specifically that, you know, Ukraine actually does have a right to defend itself against Putin's aggression. Israel has a right to defend itself against Hamas's brutal invasion of Israel. And I believe, and just wait for this, I think Adolf Hitler was a really bad guy. I do.
Yeah.
As Norm Macdonald said,
Maybe
I've said
among
it
the
before.
worst. Yeah.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. I said it before it was cool to say it.
Yes, right.
I think Adolf Hitler was the bad guy of World War II, and I think Churchill was one of the people in history who saved civilization almost single-handed at one point in 1940. And so when I see people just throwing out this absolute rubbish about, for instance, what they try to do is they try to minimize the crimes of Hitler, they try to maximize the crimes of Churchill. This is what David Irving used to try before he was completely debunked as well. And then what you do is you have this thing where you say that the Allies...
Okay, so, I mean, as I'm listening to this guy and going over this stuff, I mean, is he going to just say the same? There's going to be the same things that he said on Joe Rogan? I mean, I guess it is a book tour, I guess, right? I mean, is that how all of these things go? I just don't know. I don't know this guy that well, I guess. I've only listened to him a couple of times. I heard Joe Rogan, which was like, dang, okay, cool. You know, somebody out there is actually speaking some truth. Then he goes out there and I don't know. This dude's whack, but I mean, he's not saying. Feels like he's saying just it's having the same conversation. But anyway, I mean, we'll keep listening. Obviously, it'll be interesting. And right now, on this Blender thing, what I'm trying to do is what I know that absolutely what I can do is you see the size of these squares and these points right here that are part of this object. So what I can basically do somehow with this object selected is increase the amount of points. I can make the points. I can make a whole bunch of points, and then that way, it will also be able to make this object a lot smoother. Should be able to go through and do something very similar with all of the other pieces that we are working with here. And at that point, decide what kind of robot we're going to go with. And there's a very also decent potential that, you know, robot just isn't even going to work at all. I'm going to get done with this. This guy's going to look fucking stupid. It's going to look moronic, and it's going to look terrible. And that's okay. You can press save. You can save it for later if you want to think about it and you want to know it. We'll go move on. And it's going to be snakes. It's not going to be robots. It's going to be snakes. It's going to be these snakes trying to figure all this bullshit world out. You know? But either way, yeah.
And the Nazis were on an equal footing in World War II. And then you go for your next move, which is actually the Allies were the baddies.
Right.
I can't put up with that. It's intolerable to sit by and see this stuff going on. And so, yes, I tried to cite that. I was, of course, the whole thing was 2 against 1 because although Joe has had people like comic Dave Smith, who, by the way, I've yet to hear being funny on anything.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, somebody else can point me to it, but he's just spent 18 months criticizing Israel in the most ignorant terms. And I was annoyed that Joe had said, you know, you can only come on if you're on with comic Dave Smith, whereas just a week before, comic Dave Smith was on his own, once again sounding off, and he didn't seem to need a bodyguard or tag team double or anything like that. So okay, it's 2 against 1. I've had worse odds, but it makes it extremely difficult, undoubtedly, because you know, if I'd had a sidekick, they could have mopped up some of my points. But you know,
yeah, I mean, I think there are several reasons why it was almost an impossible task. I mean, there's something, you know, in
well,
there.
I should just say the only tasks worth doing are the impossible.
Yeah, right, right, yeah. I mean, there's. I'd like to try to track through what I think is a kind of the center of their confusion, because I think there's something that's genuinely hard to parse here around the role of expertise and you know what it is, how we recognize it, when we honor it, how you avoid arguing from authority, etc. I think that some of that stuff is genuinely confusing, and they were mightily confused by it and quite content to be, and felt that you were simply arguing from authority and urging upon them some kind of mere credentialism. It was clear to me you weren't doing that, but and this relates obviously to both the topics you were touching, the war in Ukraine and the war in Gaza. We'll focus on Gaza because I want to track through your argument in your book. But one thing I would just point out is that the war in Ukraine and the war in Gaza are connected in at least two senses. For one, it's clear which side of those conflicts you should be on if you want to be defending the West and open societies and liberal democracies against their enemies. And secondly, Vladimir Putin is on the wrong side of both of these conflicts. And you know, Joe and Dave couldn't seem to
that's just
untangle that. And yeah, I just think that's
like that noise.
it's worth noting. So,
by the way, there's an additional problem there, which is that I'm supportive of both countries' rights to self-defense.
Yeah, sorry. I do not. This is the first stream, so I don't know how to tell what that was or who that was or anything like that, but thank you.
And unfortunately, because of the degradation of the age and the decision to make politics almost entirely a team sport, whereas a part of, on the American right, there's almost, certainly on the mainstream Congress, Senate, and so on, there's mainstream support for the Israelis in their war against Hamas. There's increasingly contempt for the right of the Ukrainians to defend themselves against Putin. And the opposite exists on the left. So the left increasingly believes that Israel does not have the right to defend itself, but the Ukraine does. So I suppose I find myself, in the words of Richard Strauss's librettist in Capriccio, I find myself burning between two fires. You know.
Yeah, well, I'm going to try to push you into the rightward fire a little bit because I think you have a problem there. Honestly, I think you have some unfortunate...
Oh, that ain't good. I just, I didn't like that number. I broke the program. Maybe I'll figure it out here in just a second. Seems to also be having effects on my computer. Come on, bro, don't do this to me.